Now, I was just thinking a bit about dating apps and why it is that dating apps tend to be problematic for a lot of guys, right? Now, I've got a lot of different ideas on this and a lot of different takes and theories that you've heard from other people and all kinds of stuff. But I actually asked ChatGPT, an AI, right? I asked the AI to give me its personal evaluation of why it is that people have issues with dating apps. Okay, so I asked it, why do people have worse success on dating apps than in real life? So I'm going to go through the options that it gave. It came up with, how many was it? 8. It came up with 8 reasons why people have issues on dating apps versus real life, and all 8 of them are 100% on point. It's the things I would have said to you, it's the things other people would have said to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the explanations that they provided, and then I'm going to kind of give my breakdown on each one of them as we go through. So the first one that it came up with was overwhelming choice and paradox of choice. Dating apps provide users with an endless array of potential matches, leading to a phenomenon known as the paradox of choice. When faced with too many options, people can become indecisive, overly critical, or unsure about committing to one person, fearing they might miss out on someone better. This abundance can lead to less satisfaction and more shallow interactions, making meaningful connections harder to achieve. This is 100% facts. And this isn't just a problem with dating. This is a problem we're having in life in general. Like, this is a problem we're having with media, because we've got on-demand services, right? This is a problem you've got with foods and restaurants, where people have got access to fast food on apps and they can order whatever they want. This is an issue even with, you know, sometimes with jobs, like with people who are people who are hiring when they're getting job applications, right? This is the reason why when people go to university now and get a degree, even good degrees, they're still struggling to get jobs, because there's so many motherfuckers that have got degrees and good degrees now, even in areas that are quite useful, like, you know, medicine, tech. Even in those things, there's so many options. Companies and businesses, they're looking at the fact it's like, oh, well, now we got AI. We can outsource things to third world countries and this, that, and the third. You know, they've got too many options. So the paradox of choice and overwhelming choice is actually an issue in many areas of life. But for this video specifically, we're going to talk about how it relates to online dating apps and, of course, dating market. Now, everyone knows this. And let's just be very clear. Every single thing on this list is applying to women. Now, it doesn't say that in ChatGPT, but none of this shit is a problem for men. None of this. Men are not the ones with overwhelming choice. Men are not the ones with paradox of choice. The only time I've ever felt like I have overwhelming choice and paradox of choice is in Thailand. That's the only time, because when I've been in Thailand and I've had all the options I've got out there, yeah, then I'm like, holy shit, like I've got too many. Like I literally have got way too many options over there. Way too many. Okay? And I'm just talking that specific country. I've got way too many. Maybe when I go over to Latin America finally, it'll be similar, but I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. Yeah, that's the closest I've ever felt to something similar as to what these women are talking about. And why do you think it is that niggas love going to Thailand? Not just niggas, but you know what I'm saying, men in general. Men have loved going there for decades. Why do you think that is? This is definitely a big issue, right? On dating apps, because women have got too many options on there, they become overly critical. And I'm glad they're pointing that out, because like it said, when faced with too many options, people can become, let's just be very clear. I'm going to reword this. Every time they say people, I'm just going to say women, because that's really who they're talking about. When faced with too many options, women can become indecisive, overly critical, or unsure about committing to one person, fearing they might miss out on someone better, right? This is quite literally what it is that women will do on dating apps. So when you go on there and you're not really getting chosen, or you get picked and you match with a chick, but then it kind of isn't really working, a lot of times it's just because the bitch has got too many options, right? So this is definitely an issue. Now, in real life, a woman's still got options, but when you're standing there face to face with her, you're the guy in that moment she's got to talk to. Not the nigga on her phone, not the nigga in her DMs. You're the one guy one-on-one with her in that moment in real time. She has to interact with you. Even if the interaction is to tell you, sorry, I'm taken, sorry, I got a boyfriend, I'm not interested, whatever, she has to do something. See, in a dating app, if she don't match with you, or if she don't message you back, there's no interaction, okay? So it's completely different. And we're going to get to that as well in a minute, and about how that specific thing about not messaging or not interacting, how that's also a big problem. So number 2 is superficial judgments. Dating apps often rely on profiles and photos as the primary basis for judgment. This encourages users to make quick decisions based on looks or brief descriptions which don't capture the nuances of personality, chemistry, or shared interests that are easier to gauge in real life. Many potential matches are dismissed prematurely, reducing the chances of meaningful connections. This is a big fucking one. And me and my friends have spoken about this numerous times over the years, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have heard the phrase about someone, blocking their blessings, right? Now, me and my friends, like, we will talk about how this is a big issue that happens with dating apps. Like, a lot of times, girls will be blocking their blessings. And it's so crazy. Like, there's girls, that when I've met them off of dating apps, I'll ask them, I'll say, like, oh, what was it that got you to, like, swipe on me and match with me in the first place, right? I know it's my pictures, but I just want to hear them, like, give their explanation, like, the specific thing about my pictures or whatever it was. Then I'll ask them, like, oh, but even, like, when I asked you, like, to meet up, whatever, like, what convinced you, I'm sure you've got other guys you could link up with, like, what convinced you to do it? Now, before you guys start thinking, why would you ask that, man? You sound like you got low self-esteem. No, the way how I'm asking it is not like I got low self-esteem. It's like I'm genuinely curious, because basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand the logic of the women who I get to the finish line with, so I can backwards engineer it so I can repeat that result. You understand? I want to understand. So the women who I actually am able to close with, the women I'm actually able to get and attract, I want to understand what's their mentality, so I can try to find more common women like that, so I can increase my chances of getting my results. You hear what I'm saying? Like, if I'm seeing a certain pattern in the type of women I'm attracting, if there's a certain common thread, I want to know what the fuck it is, so that I can seek out that common thread, so I can get more results. That's how you become more efficient in life. Not spinning your wheels doing the same old shit over and over again, and not fucking thinking about how you did something. You feel me? So that's basically what it is. But this specific thing that is talking about superficial judgments is a big problem, because a lot of times girls will look at your bio or a picture and they'll be like, oh, I don't like how he's smiling in that one. Oh, he looks a bit weird in that. Oh, I don't like how his fingers look. This whole thing that was going on, like, within the last year, right, where girls were talking about having an ick and the ick and this ick that and ick that, that is a big example of what I'm talking about. Girls talking about the most stupid shit. Girls I know personally were talking about, oh, that's an ick. Oh, the way that guy crossed the road, that's an ick. It gave me the ick. Like, they were just talking about they're getting ick for the most stupid of fucking reasons. You know what I'm saying? And that is a blatant symptom of having, as they were talking about earlier, the paradox of choice. You feel like you've got too much fucking shit. You've become too superficial and basing your judgment of other people on superficial shit. And it's crazy because they'll dismiss dudes who, if we're going to be truthfully honest, are oftentimes better presented and better put together than a lot of the guys they actually end up fucking with anyway. That's the craziest part about it. Like, they'll be dismissing dudes on their dating app that has got a better look, is more put together, and clearly has more going for himself than a lot of the niggas that they actually end up messing with. So they'll be mad superficial about a stranger, but then in real time, the niggas that they actually end up getting dealt with anyway are dudes who are dusty. And then this is where they start jumping online, being on TikTok, talking about, you guys are dusty, you guys are... Well, that's because the guys who ain't dusty, you were swiping left on them or saying, I'm not messaging him back because he's not funny enough. He's not entertaining me. I don't like the way how his eye looked on Twitch and that one little... Like, it's just goofiness. Straight goofiness. Now let's move on to the next one. Number 3. Mismatch between intentions and expectations. People use dating apps for different reasons. Some seek serious relationships, while others look for casual encounters or validation. Again, who is using it for validation, guys? Right? This difference in intentions can lead to mismatches in expectations, resulting in frustration when users don't find what they're looking for. Miscommunication and unmet expectations make it harder to find compatible partners. So this is basically to do with the fact that you've got women who jump on there and will just be looking for straight up validation. They're not looking to meet dudes or nothing like that. Now, I had a theory way back when I was first on dating apps. This is back in 2018, right? And I remember, like, this is when I was just fresh into my 20s, bro. Like, and I was talking to one of my good friends, right? Because he was the one encouraging me to go on dating apps, which I'm glad he did, because I met some girls who still to this day I fuck with. Like, but at the time, one of my biggest points of frustration was this very thing, because, like, I noticed that there were certain types of women who were just like, it was almost guaranteed they weren't going to link up. Like, you'd see certain pictures, certain looks, and I was like, that type of girl's not meeting. She's not going to meet, bro. Like, even if I match with her, she's not meeting. Even if she messages back, she's not going to meet. And a specific pattern I noticed here in London, right, for myself, was that anytime I matched with a girl who was born and raised in London like me, it was almost like it was like there was absolutely no way they was gonna meet up with you. And I'm talking like there were girls who I thought I was making progress with. I'd get their Snapchat, or I'd get them on a different type of app or whatever, on WhatsApp, they'd be sending me voice notes, we'd be setting dates, they'd be saying, yeah, I'm gonna come on this day, and it never fucking happened. Every time, bro, all these London chicks, every single fucking time I tried to link with them through Tinder, bro, it was just not fucking happening. Every single time. Now with different apps, it could be a different result, but with Tinder specifically, the bitches on there from London were just not going. It was always foreign chicks, bro. I always had to pull foreign girls, or even girls just from other places. Now I will say this, I think there was one girl from London I did meet. She was a black chick. I think she might be the only one, but I can't even say confirm for sure if she was from London. Now there was like another black girl I met at one point, but she wasn't from London though. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it wasn't that you couldn't meet British women on there. It was specifically the girls from London, bro. Like specifically the girls born and raised here. And bear in mind, I live in London, so it was like, you know, and my theory to do with this was that they were on there just looking for validation, or looking for like some supreme option, like some guy, like some superhuman dude, you know what I'm saying, or some guy that was just insane, like every single part their type, like he had every single thing they wanted, like basically like they were trying to hit the lottery, and if they didn't feel like they were hitting the lottery, they just weren't going to take it serious. But again, you know what I'm saying, you'd see what they're dealing with in real time, right? I'd add them on Snapchat, I'd add them on WhatsApp, and I see the statuses, I see the stories that they'd update with, you know, 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, and you see they finally are with someone that they didn't meet off of Tinder or anything like that, some guy they met at work, or some guy they met in their in their area, whatever, right? And you'd see the nigga's dusty, bro. Like he's not, you know what I'm saying, he's definitely not better put together than me, you know what I'm saying, like, or he's not better put together than a lot of the other guys that were probably on there, but that's what they end up getting with. And it's just like they pick comfort, right? And this is going to my premise really for this video, which is that in real life, bro, you stand a better chance whether you're a good looking guy or a regular guy. Like I'm a guy that generally will be considered good looking, but even if you're not, like even if you're a regular dude, bro, especially if you're a regular guy, actually regular guys in particular, your best bet is real life, bro. Your best bet is real life. Even cold approaching, like I'm not saying like the only place where dating apps is going to be really good for you, maybe as an average guy, is when you start to go to other countries. That's where maybe, and even when I say other countries, it still depends on which countries you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? It still depends. And even then, like, even though it might work better for you in certain countries, I've not been to a single country yet where the dating app was better than in person, for me personally. Like, that's just for me personally, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. As I work on my pictures, as I go through more life and get better pictures and travel more and over time that might change, right? But I'm just saying that's pretty much what my experience has been with this specific thing. Like it says here, people use dating apps for different reasons. Some seek serious relationships, while others look for casual encounters. This is another thing. You're gonna get girls who are like, oh, I'm looking for a relationship, which isn't a problem. That's perfectly fine. But then of course a lot of dudes are just trying to hook up, right? So that's another thing. You might have a mismatch in that. But really, the main mismatch as a man that you're going to deal with is the fact that you're going to be trying to link up with a girl, and the girl has no intention of linking up, period. That's the main mismatch you're going to have, okay? That's the main mismatch you're going to have. And that's where, like it says, it can result in frustration when users don't find what they're looking for, right? You obviously will get the women who will be saying they're looking for a relationship, but really what it is they're looking for a relationship with a guy who's the type of dude that they shouldn't be trying to get a relationship out of, because he's a fuckboy, and they know he's a fuckboy, but they think they can change him, right? So, it's goofy. Whilst they swipe left on all the dudes that blatantly were relationship material, but they were boring, right? So, we got number 4, reduced accountability. This is a big one. To be honest, I'm glad. I'm kind of surprised that ChatGPT is keeping it this real. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of surprised that ChatGPT keeps it this real, but it does tend to keep it real when I've asked it about controversial things in the past. Sometimes it's a little PC at first, but I slap it up a little, and then, you know, it starts to keep it 100. And it's keeping it 100 with this one, right? Because this is like, in my opinion, this is one of the main reasons why approaching in real life trumps online. Reduced accountability. The anonymity and distance provided by dating apps often lead to lower accountability. People might ghost, lie, or behave in ways they wouldn't in face-to-face interactions. This lack of accountability can damage trust and make the dating experience feel less genuine. This is a big fucking one to me, because I have always said, one of the big problems with online, whether it's dating apps, fucking Instagram, I don't care, anything where you've not met the person it's not an in-person interaction. The big problem is that people act up. And we all know this because we know it from internet trolls. Even when you're on YouTube and you're on panels, you see how dudes are talking slick, talking about, man, I'll slap your mama, I'll do that. And a lot of these guys will never talk like this in real life, right? So it's the same thing, bro, with these dating apps and these chicks. And bro, but it's even more like ridiculous than that. When I was in a relationship, my girl at the time, bro, the girl who I was with for years, who I used to talk to constantly, who we knew each other very well. We saw each other in person all the time. We knew each other's families. Like, we're in a full-blown fucking relationship, right? Even her, there were times when I'd be talking to her on the phone and she was pretty respectful. She didn't ever really get super disrespectful with me throughout our relationship, right? But there were times when she would talk a little too slick. Her mouth would get a little too slick at certain points. And I would be very sensitive to it because she didn't usually do it, right? So I'd realize, I'd be like, okay, she on her slick shit right now. I'd be like, okay. So you know what I'd do? I'd say to her, I'll tell you what. How about you come see me and we see, come see me. Either like the next day or whatever, right? I tell her to come and talk to me, come and meet me, right? So basically, I did that because I knew she ain't gonna have that same type of energy in person. And she never did. Not a single time did she ever keep that same energy. There was not a single fucking time. Anytime she was on the slick shit, as soon as she pulled up in person, that shit was dead. It was over. It was curtains. Every time. And the reason why is because she did not have the courage of her convictions. Once she's standing there in real time, she can see me, she can feel my presence. I'm standing there, I'm taller than her, okay? And I've got a presence. Like I'm gonna be somewhat intimidating to her because she knows I'm not with the goofiness. She knows I'm not with the goofiness. So if you're gonna be goofy, now you're gonna have to be goofy to my face. And I'm gonna tell you the God's honest truth. A lot of women, right? Even though a lot of guys are intimidated by women, but I tell you right now, when you're a guy who has presence and women know that you don't play no fucking games and you ain't about the bullshit, they're the ones who get intimidated. You feel me? Now, she also was highly attracted to me. That's gonna matter as well. Like, if a woman's highly attracted to you, she doesn't want you to look at her in a negative fashion. You know what I'm saying? Because she wants your respect. She wants you to look at her as though she's someone who's desirable, right? Not just in a sexual way, but also characteristically, right? So she understood that she didn't want me to look down on her in any type of way. She didn't want me to think less of her. So when I'm standing there in person, and you see, the thing is, you might think, okay, so she thinks like that, why didn't she do that over the phone or over, when you went in person? And it's because women, like I said, it has reduced accountability. When there's just a thing that, and it happens to all of us. So look, I do it. A lot of us do it. When we get online, it's easy, because of the anonymity, it's easy to kind of just talk in a way you wouldn't usually, right? Shit, when I was growing up, playing Xbox, you know what I'm saying? Niggas was talking the maddest shit on Call of Duty in Modern Warfare, bro. The maddest shit. We'd go and search and destroy, where you have to go into the game chat, right? You couldn't stay in party chat. You have to go into game chat, okay? Because they didn't want you talking to each other in party chat and whatever and giving each other, oh, he's over there, and no, because you only got one life in search and destroy. So you have to go game chat, and bro, me and one of my boys, we used to go on search and destroy on Call of Duty 4 just so we could have arguments with grown men. You know what I'm saying? We was like 13 years old, bro. We was like 13, 12 years old. We used to go search and destroy just so we could have arguments with grown dudes. And in fact, the older they were, the better it was. The more triggered we could get an old dude, the more happy we were. When a nigga was like, yo, I'm 34, we got him mad as fuck. You can always see that it's some white dude just sitting there on the couch, you know what I mean? His face red as shit. Bro, we love that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we loved being little trolls as teens and shit. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, reduced accountability is a real thing that a lot of us have played into. But when it comes to women in relationships, it's some goofiness because it's not meant to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a reality of the dating game now, where a lot of shit has shifted to the digital realm. So now you're dealing with a lot of women who are going to be less accountable, who are going to be goofy. And you've got to understand that when you're in real time with a woman face to face, she can't be doing that type of shit with you. Especially not if you're actually a guy who stands 10 toes down on what the fuck you're saying. Like, not one of these wishy-washy type of niggas. If you're the type of guy who, no, I said what the fuck I said and I mean that shit and I'm standing on it, I promise you, you're gonna have way less of this goofiness. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I liked. Like I said, when I was in my relationship, bro, I tell that chick, yo, dead all of that. You know what I'm saying? Dead all of that. Like, see me in person, look at me eye to eye, and tell me the same shit you're trying to tell me. Come with that slick shit. And they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And next minute, cheeks are getting clapped. You know what I'm saying? Bro, this was such a thing. I even came up with a term for this, right? I called it maintenance, right? Like I'd say to my friends, oh, you know, she's acting up, I'm gonna have to give her some maintenance. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what the fuck it was like. It was like over time, you got to maintain the bitch. You got to give her some maintenance. You know what I'm saying? It's like shit. You got to change the oil. Or, you know what I'm saying? Your shit's getting a bit rusty. You got to give it a little wipe. Like you got to clean up. Like that's what it is. I could go into that whole maintenance thing another point, and that's got a whole little story. It's a little bit of, you know, antagonist law, but we're gonna skip that for now and get on to this 5th point. So point number 5 is algorithms and compatibility. Dating apps use algorithms to match people, but these algorithms are often based on surface level data, such as shared interests, location, or swiping habits. They struggle to account for the deeper, intangible factors that contribute to real-world attraction. The matches provided by apps may not always align with the complex dynamics that result to real-world chemistry. And this is facts. I'm not really going to harp on about this because it's not something I really need to talk about. But yeah, algorithms basically, you know, I will say this, like, because algorithms in some things can be fairly good or fairly accurate. Like, I think YouTube's algorithm is actually quite good. Despite how much people talk shit about it, I think a lot of people need to recognize the algorithm on something like YouTube is actually feeding back to you what it is that you actually spend your time looking at. Okay, it's actually very accurate. But algorithms on dating apps, they are fucked because of the superficiality. Like, the problem with the algorithm is the fact that it's not that it's wrong. Like, for example, Tinder's actually gotten better. Like, I've just went back on it recently, and Tinder's actually gotten better in terms of you being able to like specify what types of people you want to look for, because you can even like if you was to pay for the membership like gold or whatever, you can even specify like what language you want them to speak and like the interests you want them to have and stuff like that. And it's obviously like it has to be that they have to have goals on there. They have to have users who fit the preferences you're looking for. But the point is, if there are women on there that fit the preferences you're looking for, the app is going to do its best to show you it more often. So that's good. When you can tailor the results as much as possible, that's good, right? That is one thing that dating apps are very good for, is being able to tailor your specific type or preference very easily. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, I want to go who's like this, I want to go who's like that, I want to go who speaks this language, I want to go who's into these types of things, I want to go who is this type of age, you know what I'm saying, in this type of area, in this country, in this distance. That's good. That is something that you can't do in real life at the same scale, and that's what dating apps are good for. The two things I'll say they're good for is scale and scouting. Scale and scouting. Scale and scouting. It's good for scaling your options, and it's good for scouting in terms of putting it in different locations so that you can see what other places have to offer. Like, you can look at a country that you've never traveled to before, and you can just kind of sky out using a dating app and see what the goals look like, you know, whether you're getting any type of interest over there, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of read get a bit of a test of the temperature, right? But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So number 6 is communication challenges. Communicating through text alone can lead to misunderstandings as tone, body language, and other non-verbal cues are absent. This can make it harder to establish a connection or accurately gauge compatibility. Miscommunication and awkwardness can cause promising matches to fizzle out before they develop. This is a big fucking problem, because the fact that you have to communicate over text is an issue, straight up and down. But the reason why it's such an issue is because people cannot communicate with you as effectively online as they can in person, right? I think it's like 70% of communication is through body language. It's crazy how much of that gets lost through text. Now, people can read things like sarcasm through text to a degree, but honestly, man, the more you actually try to be sarcastic through text, the more you realize people can't. Now, this is where things like emojis help and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be honest with you, generally speaking, I'm quite good at getting my intentions across through text, but I am a very good writer, so that makes sense. But I usually am quite good at doing that. So most of the time, I don't really have too much of an issue with miscommunication or misunderstanding. Even with women that English is not their first language, right? I don't tend to have that problem too much. But there is no denying the fact that it is just less effective than in person. I'm way funnier in person. Okay, I'm pretty funny over text because I can just be funny. I'm very witty, but I'm way funnier in person. Like, if I can make a chick laugh over text, you best believe I'll have her dying in person. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where, like, as I say, you just lose out on a lot of communication. And for most guys, That's a big problem, because not all of you are going to have the gift of the gab. Not all of you are going to be extremely witty. Not all of you are going to come up with a zinger and a witty one-liner, you know what I'm saying, like immediately to counter some slick shit a chick says. But if you know how to stand on business, you can communicate that. You can have strong frame. Strong frame is harder to maintain through text. Like if you're being stoic, stoicism doesn't go so well on dating apps over text. Like, it really fucking doesn't, because it comes across like you're dry and like you're boring. You get what I'm saying? And shit, there's even been chicks sometimes who I thought were dry and boring over text because they were giving one-word answers, they weren't really saying much. And then I met with them, and there's one girl I'm thinking of in particular that I met with, and I thought she was going to be mad fucking boring, and she was so funny. Like, she was lit, she was cool as fuck, she was chill. Once I met her in person, like, she was like a completely different person. I couldn't believe how much of a difference in personality it was. And she could have communicated that over text easily, but I don't know why she didn't. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? I think when I asked her about it, I think her explanation, because this was a few years ago, I think her explanation was something to the effect of, like, she was saying like, oh, she can't be bothered, right? And this actually perfectly segues into point number 7, which is emotional burnout. The repetitive nature of swiping, messaging, and dealing with rejection or ghosting can lead to emotional burnout. Users may become disillusioned or cynical about the process, which can affect their interactions. Burnout can reduce motivation and engagement, leading to fewer meaningful connections. Now, this is something that I will say affects both men and women, because I know for damn sure, like, as a guy, you'll definitely get to a point where you're like, man, fuck this shit. I can't deal with this shit. It's to take too long. I ain't getting matches. I'm wasting time. Shit, niggas are even wasting money trying to buy booze, trying to do all this and da. And they're just like, bro, like, it's long. I'm not getting the results I want. I'm matching with certain chicks, or I'm matching with only bots, fake profiles, fucking transformers. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't going nowhere. I get matches, but the chicks ain't trying to meet with me. You know what I'm saying? It's just long. And like, I'm not interested, right? You get burnt out. Okay, you deal with a lot of games, and it starts to take a toll on your emotions. But it happens to women as well. Women be messaging dudes, you know what I'm saying? The guys are being rude or overly crass, or, you know, just being overly sexual way too early, just doing the most. Guys who are weirdos, guys who are saying mad abusive shit, weird shit, just corny shit, all kinds of shit. And I'll be honest, I've looked through a lot of women's DMs over the years, and I see a lot of the shit they've got to deal with. And I ain't gonna hold you. Most dudes out here don't know what the fuck they're doing, and most dudes out here are cooked. Like, I can understand why a lot of women ain't interested in a lot of guys. I ain't gonna hold you. Because even some dudes that you be looking at the profile picture, and you're like, oh, he seems like he's a solid dude. But then you be seeing the shit he's messaging the girl, and you're like, what the fuck is this guy on? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can't cap. I can't cap. It's true, a lot of guys ain't really got it together. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is. Some guys are just weird, some are desperate, some got mental illness. But there's definitely a lot of shit out there that women have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And it's some corny ass shit. And then, of course, that's not even mentioning when they do meet guys in real life or online, whichever one. And then the same thing in real life. They meet a guy, give him a chance, then he's a weirdo. Or they meet him in real life and then he tries to be abusive or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's that to deal with as well. So that can lead to emotional burnout, which means that by the time you get to the chick, you might be dude number, 82 or whatever in her matches, and now she's kind of coming to you with a certain type of attitude because the other guys that she was dealing with were on some bullshit, and so now she assumes you're on some bullshit. And look, I've even had it with women as well, where when I get into that burnout mode, I've had it where the next chick that I'm trying to talk to, I'm just like, I ain't got time for it. Like, I'm just on that Terminator type of time where any type of bullshit, I'm eliminating any type of like actions. I'm just going to be like, boom, I'm not dealing with it. And I'm going to be harsh. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it gets. It's a cold game. It's a cold game, like, and it's fucked up, but that's what it does. And that's why this overexposure to different people and to strangers is not really good for us. When it comes to dating, this is why it's not really a good thing, because it leads to this type of shit. You should never be like this. It should never have gotten to this point. But again, this is the market we're in today, so it's part of the reality of what we've got to deal with, right? And because of this emotional burnout thing, unfortunately, like it says, it can lead to fewer meaningful connections. You know what I'm saying? People start to meet with people assuming the worst. They come into situations with resentment and baggage and thinking, oh, well, it's about to be some nonsense. This is why right now we've got all this heated debate and discussion with these podcasts and women saying men ain't shit and men ain't like this and the men are saying the women ain't shit and now, it's I still put a lot of the blame on the women in a lot of senses, but there are a lot of shit that the men have fucked up with. And the reason I put blame on the women a lot is because the women deliberately go out of their way to keep picking the same types of dudes and expecting a different result. Men don't do that. The average guy is not doing that. The average guy's problem is that he can't even get results to begin with. You get what I'm saying? So it's mainly gonna be, the onus is on the women when it comes to this shit, just being honest. Now, number 8, the final point, is pressure and expectations. The structured nature of dating apps can create a pressure to perform or present oneself in a particular way, which might not align with how one would naturally behave in a relaxed or real life setting. This pressure can lead to inauthentic interactions, making it harder to connect on a deeper level. Now, I'll be honest, in all my years thinking about dating apps, this is actually one I didn't think about. This is the only one on this list I've never actually considered myself personally, and it's a very, very fucking good point, and it's 100% accurate, right? When people go on dating apps, they want to look a certain type of way, they want to present themselves a certain type of way, because they know it's all about presentation on there, because that's all you've got to go off of. But this extends to the messages, not just pictures, because girls will be putting shit in their bios like, oh, make me laugh, or they'll put shit in their bio that acts as like bait. I call it beta bait, right? It's like they'll put shit in their bios that's beta bait, that basically is like there to try and bait you into doing what they want you to do, to be a dancing monkey, to put on a performance for them so that they can feel good about themselves and be validated. You get what I'm saying? They'll be like, give me your funniest pickup line, give me your best pickup line, and it's just like, why? So you can laugh at it and then unmatch, or so that you can but they try and put you in the position of auditioning, right? Like, yeah, show me why I should bother with you. And the entire dynamic is fucked. It puts you in a position of being weak off the rip. You get what I'm saying? Now, again, like, this is the type of thing where in real life this can happen, but it's less likely to happen, because if you approach a woman, you're the one who's usually going to be controlling the dynamic. You get what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong, most women still expect you to message first on dating apps, so you're still going to be controlling the dynamic to an extent anyway. But the difference is that because of how they frame dating apps in their mind, and they've got so many options on there, again, paradox of choice, because they've got so many options on there, they look at it like, well, if you want to cut fruit, you gotta do something special. You gotta, like, I've got all these other guys, well, you gotta do something. See, in real life, the fact that you're there in front of her, you've already cut through them niggas. The simple fact that you're approaching her in real life, you already cut through all them dudes, because she's got to deal with you right there and then. You know what I'm saying? And what it's saying about how you can have a pressure to perform, yeah, you're going to feel pressure to perform, because chicks are going to be hypercritical, like we were saying earlier. Because of the fact that they're superficial in their standards, they're going to be way more picky online than they are in real life. Way more picky. And guys know this, they figure that out. And because they figured that out, they're like, well, shit, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Bro, I've literally seen guys racking their brains like, and I remember when I did this for a little bit, but I stopped doing it very quickly. But there's guys I know still to this day, bro, like, if they match with a girl, like, they're mad thinking like, what should I message? I don't want to say the wrong thing because then she might unmatch and da-da. Bro, that's too much. I'd rather catch a flight. And I do. And I will in a couple weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'd rather do, bro. I ain't got time for all that. I ain't got time for that shit. Like, that's one of my biggest issues with dating in the West, bro. Like, I just hate that overthinking, mental gymnastics, a whole bunch of, we got to figure it out. Fuck all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why have I got to do a whole bunch of mental gymnastics and a whole bunch of work to interact and connect with another human? And I'm telling you right now, bro, in real life, this is not as big of a problem. It really fucking isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, in real life, bro, you can say the wrong thing to a woman and it doesn't matter. See, like, I was actually thinking about this the other day, right? If you message a woman on a dating app and you just say something, like, you could ask her a question that she thinks is goofy, or let's say it's something that, like, she's got in her bio and you didn't realize or you didn't remember or whatever, or you just didn't even read the fucking bio, and you ask her a question, right? And she looks at it like, well, why is he asking me that? Because it's in my bio. Or let's say you try and say a joke and she doesn't think it's funny. Or let's say that you ask her a question like, does she live in this country or this city? Or, does she travel a lot? Or, I don't know, you could ask her anything, what is she studying? And anything that she could just take as, oh, I've seen that question 1,000 times. Or, oh, he's generic. Or he's boring. Or, no. In real life, she is going to answer that fucking question with a smile on her face, unless she's a complete bona fide bitch, which some women are. But most of them are going to answer that question politely and properly in real life, okay? It doesn't matter if they've heard it numerous times. They're going to answer the damn question. And the reason why is because in polite society, motherfuckers are polite. They don't want to be coming across rude. They don't want to be acting goofy. And this is my point, like, even if she's used to on dating apps hearing that question 1,001 times, when a nigga says it to her in real life, all of a sudden it's not a problem. Even though she could literally have just put down her phone and read that message 25 times in a row. But the second a nigga in real life says the exact same thing and he's the 26th nigga in the last 5 minutes to ask her, she's actually gonna she'll be fine with it. Even if she don't like the dude, that doesn't mean she likes him, doesn't mean she's attracted, doesn't mean he's gonna be clapping them cheeks. But the point is that she's gonna be more tolerable of a guy saying it to her in person. There's just something about the way people's brains work, especially women, where they are just more open and more tolerant to men in real life than they are online. Online, you really are just a statistic to them, unless they find you highly attractive. And even if they find you highly attractive, it doesn't take much for them to just be like, no, you know what, he's a weirdo, no, right? Like the thing I was specifically thinking, like, if you make a joke, right, and let's say she doesn't understand the joke, or let's say she misinterprets it. See, on a dating app, she can just ghost. She can just be like, fuck it, I'm not responding, because she doesn't want to deal with the awkwardness, or she doesn't want to interact anymore. She just feels like that was weird. Oh, here's a new match, and now she's on to the next one. That cannot happen in real life. The closest thing that can happen to you in real life is in a club. Nightclubs is like the closest thing that can happen to you. And what was the thing before dating apps that dudes were saying is bullshit? Nightclubs, right? That's the closest thing. But I'm telling you right now, even in nightclubs, you stand a better chance, depending on where you're going, than you do on dating apps. It depends, right? It depends on the location. But I'm just saying, you typically will stand a better chance. So that is 100% facts. Pressure and expectations is a big thing, right? Like it says, people might not align with how, you might act in a way which doesn't align with how one would naturally behave in a relaxed real life setting. And that's the big word, relaxed. That is the big word. Dating apps put this pressure on people because you're on an app that's entire purpose is to meet and date. See, when people meet in real life, especially social circle, and I might do a separate video talking about it. I will do a separate video at some point talking about it. But social circle, one of the reasons why it's always been so successful for people over time, over the thousands of years of history of humanity, the reason why social circle has always been a standard is because of that specific word, relaxed. Another word for it is comfort, familiarity, right? I would use the word covert. Social circles are like a more covert way of seducing someone, because you can do indirect seduction with social circle. And when I say indirect, I don't even mean you have to intentionally be doing it. But whether you're doing it intentionally or not, you can make a woman become more attracted to you over time just because she's around you more. And she gets to see you more often. And the familiarity and the comfort that she gains from that leads to her feeling some type of connection and bond. You have more opportunities to bond with her. There's a greater likelihood that you will have more opportunities. So like, if for example, you do piss her off, or if you have an argument with her, if you work with her, or you go to school with her, well, you have no choice but to see each other again. So even if she feels some type of way about you on Tuesday, well, by the time you get to next Tuesday, she might have gotten over it, and now you can reconnect. And before you know it, 5 Tuesdays from now, you're smashing. You see, the thing is that's impossible really with dating apps for the most part, because the moment that first transgression happens, the first sight of her thinking that you're being weird, or she doesn't like what you said, or anything like that, is curtains. And there's not going to be any re-up. There's not going to be a redo. There's not going to be any doing a 180. She's just going to either unmatch, block, or not respond. And it's going to stay like that. And you trying to even re-engage is going to make you look worse 9 out of 10 times. You know what I'm saying? So you're in a lose-lose situation in that regard. There's not much you can do. Once she feels some type of way online, it's done. It's curtains. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I disengage. I leave it. If she ain't going to respond, fuck out of here. Then I will leave it up to her to re-engage. And if she don't, then sayonara. That's how you gotta move. In real life though, it's not like that. In real life, like I said, she could feel some type of way, but if you're in a situation where you're forced to have to see each other again, hey, you can work it out. Even if you don't see each other that commonly, if you're just in the same friends group, another person who knows both of you, who's a mutual, might be like, hey man, he's a cool dude, like he ain't really like that. Now you got social proof, you got someone fighting, backing you in your corner. You don't have that online, bro. So these are my reasons, talking about, online, or I say my reasons, but this is what ChatGPT came up with, and I was just adding, my little input on it based on my experience meeting women online, offline, and continuing to do so. Not one of these guys who's talking about what happened back in the 90s. I mean, I was a literal infant. I was barely even out the womb at that point, so I definitely can't be talking about the 90s, and sure as hell not the 2000s much either. But from the 2010s, mid 2010s onwards, I got a little something that I can share, and I think what I said was on point. This is about 40 odd minutes. So yeah, if you didn't learn something new, or maybe it reminded you of something old, you get what I'm saying? Regardless, I hope it was a good listen. I certainly think I said some real shit.